Hello friends, so let's resume our discussion on plane stress condition. So in order to understand the plane stress condition, we have considered a three-dimensional plate with of unit thickness. The reason one would want to relate the plane stress condition to that of the three-dimensional plate is because it is easy for us to visualize the plane stress condition and to understand it. Now in the previous lecture, or the first part of the previous lecture, we saw that when you assume a plate or a typical plate of something like this, wherein or which is characterized by a particular area that is significantly higher than the other surface areas. So if you assume this to be your frame of reference, now the area that is perpendicular to the z-axis is considerably higher than the other surface areas. So that would mean that the stress acting along the z-axis would be insignificant, because the stress acting along the z-axis would be inversely proportional to the area perpendicular to the z-axis. So the area perpendicular to the z-axis, if we express it in this manner, then with the significant increase, or when your area is significantly higher than other surface areas, then this particular stress would be rather insignificant when you compare it with the other stress. Now this is the reason why when you consider a three-dimensional plate experiencing a triaxial loading, the mechanical condition or the number of components, stress components that is required to describe the mechanical condition experienced by a region within the plate under triaxial loading reduces from 6 to 3. So initially, for a three-dimensional structure experiencing a triaxial loading, we saw that we needed 6 stress components. And now when you change the nature of the three-dimensional structure to a three-dimensional plate, then you would need just 3 components because of this typical nature of the plate. And this is what we refer to as the plane stress condition. So in plane stress condition, the stress along a particular direction is absent, and that would reduce the number of independent components that is required to describe the mechanical condition experienced by a specific region within our three-dimensional structure. So in the previous lecture, or the second part of the previous lecture, we built on that. We wanted to quantify these different components of the stress experienced during plane stress condition. So we wanted to talk about or quantify the normal stress and the shear stress experienced by a region of stress within the three-dimensional plate. For that, we considered a plate and we consider a specific view of the plate. Now if you consider this as again our frame of reference, we considered a view wherein the z axis pointed towards us, and this were the x and y axis. Now when you assume such, or when you rotate your frame of reference in such a way, then you can represent your plate in a simple quasi two-dimensional manner, and this would be the region of your interest, and this would be the loading direction for a uniaxial tensile loading. So in the second part of the lecture, since now we want to quantify the different components of stress, we began by considering uniaxial tensile loading, and this we assumed for a three-dimensional plate, and instead of treating it completely in the 3 dimension, we considered a view that would help us assume, or that would help us treat the plate in terms of 2 dimensions. So when you have such a frame of reference, when you rotate the frame of reference in such a manner, that would allow you to treat the plate in terms of 2 dimension, and we have conveniently assumed that the thickness of the plate is unit, or the plate as a unit thickness. Then the AB here, that is the region of interest, is nothing but a plane of unit thickness. And since we are beginning to quantify the different components of load, we began by considering a uniaxial tensile that is acting along the direction P. Now we have considered similar setup for 2-dimensional case. However, if you could recollect, we did not talk about any direction. We just talked about the different ways of experiencing or expressing the stress that is acting on AB. So in two-dimensional case, we had a similar setup. This two-dimensional case was a few lectures before, if you could recollect. We were talking then in terms of components of stress, and that was the first time you got introduced to the normal stress and the shear stress. Now the way or the reason or the way we approached the two-dimensional case was rather simple. What we did was we expressed the stress acting on AB in terms of the overall shear stress and the overall normal stress. Now the overall, now let's just revisit our condition in two-dimensional case. Now in two-dimensional case, the overall normal stress would be P by AC. In two-dimensional case, the overall normal stress would be P by AC. Now we expressed the stress on AB in terms of P by AC through the angle of inclination cos theta. If you could recollect, this is what we did in the two-dimensional case. Similarly, we expressed the shear stress along acting on AB in terms of P by, in terms of the area that was parallel to the loading direction, that is this area here, P by BC and sine of theta. So now what we essentially did was we were able to express, or what we did was we expressed the stress acting along our region two-dimensional case. Specifically, just to revisit, in two-dimensional case, we expressed the load acting on AB in terms of the overall shear stress and in terms of the overall tensile stress. This is what we did at the two-dimensional case. We did not consider in the two-dimensional case was the direction. Then we did not consider the direction normal to AB. We did not consider the direction along AB. This is because in two-dimensional AB is just a line, and we are not considered a plane or anything. It's just a two-dimensional case, and AB was just a line. Now since we are talking about a three-dimensional case, now we have moved on to a three-dimensional case. We are talking about a plate of unit thickness. Then we need to have a projection or a direction that is normal to the region of our interest. In two-dimensional case, even though we can assume that to be a plate and the plate extends infinitely, at that time the focus was just to express the stress acting on AB using different other stresses, using shear stresses and also using overall normal stress. So you have overall shear stress, you have overall normal stress. You think that you wanted to quantify the mechanical condition acting on AB. That was your primary interest in case of two-dimension. And that was at that time important because we were trying to extend that to three-dimensional case, and we want to study three-dimensional case under uniaxial loading, and we want to quantify the different components of stress. For that, as a building point, we consider the two-dimensional, a purely two-dimensional case, and we just expressed the stress acting on AB, a region in the two-dimension, using the overall normal stress and the overall tensile stress and the overall shear stress. This is what we did in two-dimensional case. But now we are talking about a three-dimensional case wherein there is a unit thickness along the direction on which we are viewing. So we have to consider, or we have to build on it, and we are considering a direction normal to that of AB. So if you could recollect, in the previous lecture, what we did was we calculated the normal stress with respect to AB. For that, we quantify different angles, and since our primary aim of this lecture is to calculate the shear stress that is acting along AB. So the previous lecture we calculated the stress that is acting normal to AB. Now we want to calculate that stress that is acting along AB. Let us revisit and establish the angles that we calculated in the previous lecture. So we have our inclined region of interest AB. The reason why we want to consider an inclined region of interest is because these inclined region of interest will give us a generalized set of expressions which we can then use for any region of interest by substituting the appropriate inclination angle. So when you consider a region of interest that is inclined, whatever expression you get would be based on the angle of inclination, and for any region that you subsequently want to study, you can calculate then the appropriate angle of inclination, substitute that, and you will end up with, or you can quantify then the normal stress and the shear stress. So for that, let us we often consider the inclined region of interest. and now this would be the edges of your plate, and now we are considering it in the uniaxial tensile loading direction. So it's a uniaxial, treating the overall setup, or what we are studying so now is the plate experiencing a uniaxial tensile loading, and this load is of a magnitude P. So now in order to quantify the angle of inclination, we drop a perpendicular, and we saw that we quantify that as theta. Now this is a perpendicular, and that means this is also perpendicular. Now if you assume this point to be O, and let us drop a normal from O which is perpendicular to AB. So this is normal, and let us assume this point to be D and this point to be E. So this is the point is on the normal to AB. So that means this angle is 90 degrees, and since this is 90 degrees, AEO triangle, AEO is a right angle triangle. So that means this angle here is 90 minus theta, and therefore when you consider the line that is along the loading direction, that is the line along the loading direction is OE. So if you consider a point here, and this is the point E, there is a line EP, and the line AB, or the region of interest line AB, intersect at point O. So you have two straight lines, the line AB and the line EP, they both intersect at point O, and therefore this angle will be equal to this angle, and therefore this will be 90 minus theta. And so this angle is 90 minus theta, and you can then very well know that, calculate this angle and term this as theta, because summation of these two angles should be 90 degrees, and since this is 90 minus theta, this has to be theta in order to ensure that the sum of these two angles are sum of these two angles are 90. So therefore this angle has to be theta. Now we have seen that the stress acting with respect to AB, you can express this in terms of the overall stress and the angle of inclination. So this we saw in the two-dimensional case. Now this stress here is overall stress, that is P by A, and this A is nothing but this AC here, which is perpendicular to the direction of the load. So this is what this stress is. So what we have just done is, we have expressed the stress that is acting on AB with respect to the overall tensile stress. That is exactly what we have done. Now the direction of this stress is nothing but is similar to that of the overall loading direction. So is this the direction along which this particular stress is acting? Now we wanted to project that stress onto the normal direction. The angle between the direction of this stress and the normal direction is theta, and therefore we were able to show that the stress acting normal to AB is nothing but the stress that is along the loading direction and cos of theta. And now when you substitute this here, you can show that the stress that is normal to AB is the product of the overall stress that we have seen here and cos square theta, where theta is the angle of inclination. This we were able to derive in the previous lecture. Now the purpose of this lecture is to calculate the stress that is acting along AB. So this is the direction that we are interested in, and we want to calculate the stress that is acting along AB. So that would be the shear stress that is acting along AB. Now let us build on whatever we have so far derived. That is, we have already established a stress that is acting along the direction P. So that is sigma AB. So there is a stress that is already acting along AB. Now you can project that stress onto the direction along the region of our interest. So you have your stress acting along the direction P. You can then project that stress onto AB in order to quantify the stress acting along AB. So if you want to do that, then the shear stress component would be the stress acting along the loading direction and cos of the angle between the loading direction and your direction of interest. The loading direction and your desired direction, it forms an angle of 90 minus theta, and when you take the cos of 90 minus theta, then ultimately you are projecting the load along this direction onto this direction. So ultimately you can express that as cos of 90 minus theta, then you would end up with an expression sigma AB sine of 90 minus theta. And now when you substitute sigma AB, we have our expression for sigma AB here. Now the sigma AB is the stress that is acting on the desired region of interest AB. We have expressed it in terms of the overall tensile stress in this relation here. Now when you substitute this here, the tensile or the shear stress that is acting along AB in terms of the overall tensile stress would be something like this. So what we have now done is we have quantified the stress that is acting normal to AB in terms of the overall uniaxial tensile stress, and similarly we have quantified the shear stress that is acting along AB in terms of the overall tensile stress. Now what you can do is you can use some trigonometric properties and express this as 2 of sine theta cos theta. What I have done is just multiplied and divided by 2, and since 2 sine theta cos theta is sine 2 theta, you have your shear component of stress acting along AB under uniaxial tensile loading, and you have your normal component of stress acting perpendicular to AB. So acting perpendicular to AB under uniaxial tensile loading. So what we have done is we have calculated not only the normal stress and the shear stress, but we have, with respect to the overall direction, but we have provided a specific direction to the normal stress and the shear stress. Now the normal stress that we have derived acts perpendicular to that of the region of interest, and the shear stress that we have considered acts along the region of interest. Now both these we have quantified in terms of the overall tensile stress. So we have quantified the normal stress and the shear stress acting both perpendicular to the region of interest and along the region of interest respectively using this overall shear stress. So this is what this is the way, or this is how we would quantify the different stresses of a plate or a region of interest within a three-dimensional plate when it is experiencing a uniaxial tensile loading. So the different components of stresses along with their direction, we have calculated it. We have related to the different the different components of stress to the overall tensile stress, and these are their expressions. Now let us build on this and try to arrive or consider or derive at the components of stress that are required to describe the plate experiencing biaxial tensile loading. So far what we have considered is a plate experiencing uniaxial tensile loading. In that plate we have considered the region of interest, and using that, in that region of interest we have considered the normal direction and the direction along that region of interest, and we have calculated the components of stress that is acting normal to the region of interest and along the region of interest. All this was done for a plate experiencing a uniaxial tensile loading. Now let us try to build on this understanding to calculate the similar stresses that are acting normal to the region of interest and along the region of interest under biaxial tensile loading. This we will follow it up in the second part of the lecture, so that we don't have to confuse much. So whatever we have done, let this be part 1 of this lecture. That is, we have quantified the normal stress and shear stress with respect to the region of interest AB. And in the second part, we will build on it. We will add another loading direction, so that you have a three-dimensional plate experiencing biaxial loading, and then we will try to arrive at similar expression for, or we have tried to quantify the normal stress and the shear stress experienced by a region of interest within a plate under biaxial tensile loading. So let's see ourselves in the second part of this lecture. Thank you.